All right, can everybody hear me okay? I hope you all are as excited as I am to do this show tonight. This is one I've been really looking forward to doing, and I've been pretty excited about this one, honestly. I think y'all are going to really enjoy this one. We sounding okay, Calvin? Is the video good? The sound and everything? All right, Decoy says we're good. All right, guys, we're going to be talking to Red Dirt Cryptids Investigations tonight. They're an Oklahoma-based cryptid investigation team. I've spoke to them a few times. I got the pleasure of meeting them at one of their campsites and visiting with them for a while. Really good people. They know what they're doing. Very knowledgeable, and they're a boots on the ground investigation team also. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring them on in. That way we can just get started and quit wasting time. And I'm as excited probably as you are doing tonight's show.
Hi guys.
All right. I've been excited about doing tonight's show actually.
Yeah, me too.
Same
Always
here.
like to never miss out to talk about cryptids. It's like a never-ending topic.
Right.
Let me
Yeah.
let me introduce. I know that you guys can see these guys, and this is Coleman and Eric. I work with them. Um, Coleman has his own platform that he's been working, and you know, Eric's just a Sasquatch whisperer, kind of freelance. So we all just kind of came together and started working together recently. I've got other people on my team like Jeff Hatfield and Micah Doan, and I've got a few other people that from time to time come out with us. But for the most part, me and Coleman and Eric and Jeff Hatfield are kind of our core team that go out on a regular basis and right now. So anyway, that's us.
What's the name of your channel, Cole? If people want to find your channel.
Yeah, so my channel is called MHS Network. That's capital M, capital H, capital S Network. We do cryptid stuff. We got our documentary on there. If you're interested in watching that, that's based in Oklahoma. We cover a little bit of true crime, just a little bit of everything. So if you're into all that stuff, which obviously I'm sure, given the audience that you guys are probably interested in that, yeah, feel free to head over to MHS and like and subscribe. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And Eric, I think he's the Bigfoot whisperer, I guess. I got to meet him at the campfire the other night, and he had a lot of good ideas with his cameras and placement and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Some of the tricks he uses and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. Unfortunately, it was a quiet night.
Windy.
Yeah, sometimes it has results. It's all about imagining how they're going to approach your camp. I'm all about attracting them, bringing them in. I'm not going to walk through the forest at night. Nope. And I sleep in my van. I have cameras. Where we park, where we set tents up, it all matters. And like a choke point, bring them into a choke point. We're not here to scare them or hurt them. Just hoping to get them on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And Brian, you have it
with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian, you have a theory. I want to let you go ahead and talk a little bit about your theory, and then we'll all probably ask you questions on it, I'm sure.
Well, it's kind of a working theory. Most of these theories, all good ones, they're always evolving. But I've pretty much come to the conclusion that there's a lot more, especially Bigfoot and probably Dogman in the state of Oklahoma than what people realize. You know, if you are watching podcasts and you're listening and they start talking about populations and numbers of reports in different states, you're going to get, differing reports. So, some places, they'll say that Oklahoma is like 15th in the nation as far as like sighting reports and stuff. And some places, they'll even say it's as high as 9th. It just kind of depends on who you're talking to and what region these people are coming from. And the reason why I think that Oklahoma is probably got a lot more, it's kind of like a sleeper. You remember back in the 60s or the 70s and the 80s, what a sleeper hot rod was. It's kind of like nobody really suspected that it was as fast as it was, but it was really fast. I think Oklahoma is kind of a sleeper when it comes to, cryptid activity, because we've got something that I think we've got the worst case of what I call geographical or demographical phenomenon bias. And that's a name that I just made it up. Okay. And what it's really about is about how certain areas, people just don't talk about it for whatever reason. Okay. It could have to do with geography. It could have to do with the type of people that live in a certain area. And what I mean by that is, if you go to Northern California or Washington State and you're talking about Bigfoot, it's common there. I mean, I would be willing to bet you that 30% of everybody in Washington State over there, outside of the major metropolitan areas, has seen one. And if they haven't seen one, they know somebody that they trust has seen one. They take it for granted that they're real up there. It's not just a marketing scheme. People just assume that it's real. But the further you get away from Washington State, Oregon and Northern California, the less accepting that is. And I think everybody agree with that. But when you start talking about Oklahoma, especially out where I'm out in northwestern Oklahoma, and people just they adamantly refuse to talk about it. And some people estimate that for every one report that gets reported, there's like 10 that do not get reported. I think it's probably a lot higher than that in northwest Oklahoma. Now, if you go down to southeastern Oklahoma, people tend to talk about it a little bit more openly, a little more freely, and but not anywhere near like what you got up in Washington State or Northern California. It's like you get into certain areas and people clam up, and it might have to do with certain areas, or they have a different type of demographic of people. And some areas, are like more open plains, like where Eric is from. He's up in Kansas. People are they're just like, there's no way that they could be out here. And to them, it's the most ridiculous thing they've ever heard until they bump into one. And then they can find absolutely nobody to talk to. So where I'm coming from is I'm starting to put together all these case files and these reports. And I'm talking to these people, and they feel like they don't even have anybody to talk to. I've talked to people that actually were concerned that if I gave out their name and told people who they were and that they'd seen Bigfoot, that they would get locked up in some kind of mental institution. And I had this guy, he literally was like, please do not tell anybody my name. I've got a wife and I've got grandkids that are living with me. I've got to take care of them. And if they lock me up, there's not going to be anybody to take care of them. And as ridiculous as that sounds, this guy was truly afraid that I would give out his name. I mean, he wasn't an act. He was really scared. And I think that kind of crap goes on more and more in Oklahoma and probably even Kansas than probably 90% of the other states in the union, because we're so I hate to say it, down to earth. You know, I mean, I don't know why it is. I don't know how we got there, but it's a fact. And I think everybody on my team will agree with that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that I think that there is a lot higher level of cryptid, Bigfoot, dogman activity in Oklahoma and southern Kansas. It's just not getting reported. That's my theory.
I have a theory.
Right.
I have a theory to piggyback on that
today.
Yeah.
I have a theory on that. If I could, driving through some of these neighborhoods, small towns on the main highways, in the more mountainous or wilderness areas of Oklahoma, you see a lot of plywood cutouts of Sasquatch posted in their barns and in front of their garages and in their yards and coming out of the tree line.
Yeah.
I think that's their way of telling people, I believe, they have a story. They're just not saying it out loud.
Mm-hmm. Right. I see them all the time too. So maybe that's just their.
What do you think, Cole?
It's in their comfort zone to do that.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Brian's saying. I think a lot of times we think that, you hear stories from like old encounters of maybe like back in the 90s or 80s or even earlier than that, people having encounters and then being terrified and, being afraid of being called crazy and, like Brian was saying, being locked up in a mental institution or whatever. And, we have all these different podcasts and shows and movies now. I think sometimes we forget that type of thinking and that fear and even that ridicule is still out there. I get weird looks myself from people, when I tell them that, like, hey, I go out and I look for Bigfoot or whatever. So, if I get weird looks for people just from something as minuscule as that, imagine someone who's actually had an encounter, has actually seen one of these. So I definitely, like I said, I agree with what Brian's saying. I definitely think that that type of mindset of, being ridiculed or being afraid of being ridiculed is still very much a thing.
I think it's a shame too.
Yeah, like I done a story about a guy today that was working security, and he was working with the deputy sheriff, and the deputy was off duty, and they were attacked. But whenever they went to the hospital, he was so sure that the deputy was going to tell the truth. And then the off-duty deputy turns around and says, "No, I was attacked by a lion." And he's like, "Job." He said, "I knew right then that the truth was not going to be told."
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, and for multiple reasons. A lot of people think there's a conspiracy that goes on with the law enforcement agencies across the nation, about, when something like this happens. But and I'm sure there's some type of conspiracy, but it's also possible that they just, their credibility is so paramount to their occupation that they can't really afford to lose that integrity, and so maybe a lot of it is they're just not willing to gamble their livelihood on something like that. I mean, it's entirely possible. I mean, we get mad at some of these, these cops and these law enforcement agencies when they spin this stuff, so to speak. But it ain't no different than some of these reports that just go completely unreported. I mean, I clammed up for a period of years about it because I ridicule some of my so-called friends, and I kind of understand how it is. And if I don't even know if I would have said anything if I was afraid I was going to actually lose my job over it. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Right. Like whenever I was a captain, part of my job was to approve reports from the field officers and overnight calls. And my higher ups made it very clear that if somebody called in a cryptid or a Bigfoot, or even if one of the deputies saw something they didn't recognize, or one of the officers saw something, it's not going to be a cryptid. It's going to be a prowler. And it has to be classified as a prowler, period.
Well, let's here on the page. Yeah. Well, we've also seen in the past how panics can occur, and how, like for instance, up your way, the Noxie monster. By the time that whole thing was said and done, there was newspaper reporters running around. There was people out there trying to shoot it. All hell was breaking loose. People were trespassing on everybody's private property looking for this thing. And I even heard that there was a kid that got shot over the whole. I don't know. Who knows what the real truth was about the Noxie monster. But something that started. But how much of it was hype and fear? I don't know.
There's an actual police report that comes out of Talala, and the sheriff at the time was trying to think of his name. It'll come to me in a minute. Actually done it. It's online. You can find it. Shots at what called a Bigfoot in the loft. Put it as an official police report. It's online. You usually find it online. Bob Arnold. That was the sheriff. Was Bob Arnold.
That's interesting. And how do they classify it in that report? Do you remember?
It came out as he fired at a Bigfoot, and then later on, the media got a hold of it, and they spun it as it was a monster, and it turned more into like a spook hunt. A bunch of people got scared. Then it went to this mythical beast that's roaming the bottoms, and just kind of they filtered it out from there.
I heard that by the time the whole thing was by the time it got all ramped up and everybody was freaking out, that the sheriff came out and said that it was just a big hoax that was being put on by these two local boys, and that it was all just a bunch of hooey. But I gotta imagine that he was under a lot of pressure at the time to put a fork in the thing and make it all go away. So I guess my point is sometimes having.
That was the sheriff that came after Bob Arnold.
Was it? Yeah, he was probably ready to be done with it.
Yeah.
But it does cause these big local Bigfoots are not causing all kinds of problems. Kind of like the Lawton werewolf back in the early 70s. That caused a lot of issues too. So anyway, but that was my theory on my demographic, geographic phenomenon bias. I honestly believe that Oklahoma should probably be, 5th or 6th in the nation as far as reports go. And I know that people come out of the woodwork and they'll say, well, other states have that too. But I don't think they have it near as bad as we do here. It's pretty bad. The closed-minded out here is rampant. And people are very concerned about their reputation. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll catch up with the rest of the world in another 20, 30 years. That's usually the way everything in Oklahoma goes.
Right. Even on a case I'm working on now, I'm working with a lot of Native Americans, and they still live and practice the old ways. And I learned this the other day the hard way. I brought up the word the word dog man, and I was immediately shut down by the chief. And he told me that that dog man and the werewolf are the same thing, and that Sasquatch is the same thing. And he kind of blended them all as the same thing but different. And I said, how do you say they're how are they different? And he says, well, a little bulldog doesn't have a snout, but a German Shepherd does. He says they're all related. And then the other night I was listening to Dr. Elba, and I sent you a message because she blew my mind after talking to that chief. She goes and says that DNA supports that they all come from the same father. So I was like, what's going on here? What is actually happening?
Well, that is very interesting, but that's a pretty common thought process with the Cherokee Nation, and there's a lot of other nations out there that don't exactly share that same thought process. But the Cherokees are not alone in that. My question would be, I wouldn't say argument, because I don't really argue with Native Americans or about matters of cryptids. They're the ones that have more experience than we do. But my question is well, if that's the case, a dog man and a werewolf are the same, and a dog man and a Bigfoot are the same, does that mean that we're the same as a Sasquatch? I mean, where do you really draw the line on there? I mean, we're pretty close. We're about as close. We're closer anatomically to a Sasquatch than a dog is. I mean, I don't know where they draw the line at on that. I mean, it just kind of brings up more questions for me. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just curious as to what they think. The Ponca people,
Right?
huh?
I'm evidence. I try to do everything, like if I was at work, and then, I take what the Indians, the Native Americans, the Indians, what they say is, 50%, and I always say prove the rest. But whenever DNA coming from, a doctor that says that these are all the same father, and the way she was kind of talking, she was saying that she believes these cryptids were fathered by the Nephilim blood, and then we would have been created, by God. And when DNA starts saying that there's a link between all, I really started getting excited, because if there's a connection between all of them, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I agree. I need to go back and watch that video. I haven't had time to watch it yet. I'm hesitant to comment on Melba's work for a lot of reasons. First of all, just being honest, I'm not intelligent enough on an intellectual basis to follow her work. I mean, when you start talking about, the mitochondrial DNA or whatever, I mean, that just goes off over the top of my head. I'm just a simple country boy. I'm not, a biology major, and I can tell you this: when you're listening to Melba tell her part, you're only getting one part of the story. There's a lot of people out there that disagree with her, and I don't disagree with her. I'm just qualified to comment. And be honest with you, I really don't know what to think about Dr. Ketchum's work, but I do find a lot of the stuff that she's saying very fascinating. And I do believe that it probably does go back one way, shape, or form to the Nephilim. And I do believe they were real. I believe that they were around. I believe that Genesis true. And it may not be verbatim true, on everything. There's the context that everything in the Bible has, taken from. We commonly misinterpret the Bible on a regular basis. There's whole denominations, churches out there that forbid women to cut their hair because of one Bible verse that says a woman's hair is pride. And we find out later that it had to do with prostitution and how women that were prostitutes would cut their hair in that one city as a symbol that they were a prostitute. It was like a calling card, and it's complicated, but it's not. And I do believe, that there were Nephilim, there were the Watchers that fell. I believe they still exist. I believe they're still out there today. But at the same time, I don't really believe that there is a man walking among us that knows the whole truth about what's really going on there. And if he does, he's probably in political office somewhere, and he's up for re-election soon. I mean, that's usually where these people are. They're in Epstein Island. I mean, you can't trust these people. They're not going to tell you the whole truth. And you could get me started talking about conspiracy, but as it gets down to cryptids, yeah, I think they're in there somewhere. But how relevant is it? I don't know. I believe it. I believe once upon a time there was a lot more cryptids walking the earth too. I think we killed a lot of them. Now, is a Sasquatch Nephilim? I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. Now, I believe they could have Nephilim blood in them, but at the same time, I also believe that you and I could possibly have Nephilim blood in us. I mean, this has been going on for hundreds of thousands of years, and so by the time you get down to today, we're all just mutts. We're DNA mutts. We're not purebred. I mean, a lot of people would like to think they're purebred, but they're not. They're mutts. And we recently discovered we have Neanderthal DNA in it, and there's Denisova in it. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of us had some Sasquatch blood in it. From back in the day when the Native Americans used to get their women stolen from the Sasquatch. I mean, I believe that happened too. I believe them. Our gene pool is just a big hodgepodge mess. It's like a big melting pot. And, if there's somebody out there that thinks that there's some kind of thoroughbred, they're smoking crack. They don't know what I'm talking about. There's no such thing, and just like dogs. I mean, even thoroughbred dogs and horses, if you trace them back, they're really mutts. They're really not. There's no such thing as a true thoroughbred anymore. And that goes with humans, and I think that goes with Sasquatch. And I have to say, I don't think the Sasquatch people, I don't think that they're out there pushing the Nephilim agenda. I don't think that's on their mind. They don't get up in the morning and worship Satan and go around trying to scare people to elicit fear. They're just trying to survive. They're trying to raise their families, and they're trying to protect their kids and stay fed, and stay hidden. And I think it's probably the same for the dog men. There's no evidence to prove anything to the contrary. I'm an evidence guy like you. I like to find footprints. I like to find hair. I like to get evidence on my audio recorder, and we've got all these theories, all these, hypotheses that are floating around everywhere that everybody just grabs them and they run. They just grab them and run. They don't give them any consideration because, It may not have a shred of evidence, but damn, it makes a great story. And that's part of the problem that we have with social media now. Some of these platforms that are out there. We've got a lot of Bigfoot, Dogman platforms they're mixing fiction with nonfiction. They're just making up stories because they sound good and they need clickbait material for their show. And you don't know what to believe anymore. Just, what do you believe anymore? What's the truth? I try my best not to pay any attention and not what if I find out a podcast or a YouTube channel dabbles in fiction, I will refuse to watch it anymore because I cannot paint my brain with fiction. I just can't do it. And if you watch a YouTube video that's completely fictitious and it's fictitious, a year later you'll remember the video, but you won't remember whether it was real or not, if that makes sense. And so you've got to kind of filter what you're watching before you watch it, and it's tough, man. It's tough. So anyway, that's just me and my crazy stuff. I may be wrong. I don't know. I'm the first one to say I don't have all the answers. So, and beware of anybody that does.
Right. Here you go, Eric. We're going to give you the next hard subject. We're going to let you jump in on this one. I got in trouble on this subject. I went against a popular that he had caught a portal live, and I sent it to forensic psychologists of mine have up-to-date software that's just amazing, and came back as it was, which pretty much she said meant that it was a optic illusion. What I'm going to ask you though is, have you ever found, or do you believe in the existence of portals?
Where did that come from? Where did the notion that they are real? Are there other animals that we know create portals other than in Hollywood? I don't think so. It's attention getters. People, I don't know if they're making stuff up on the internet, photoshopping. They watch Predator too many times, or the Glimmer Man. I don't believe that at all.
That was
What's
hard.
Your take on it, Cole? What do you think?
You guys cut out just a little bit. So something to do with portals. Someone said they caught a portal on camera or something.
I was just wanting to get your opinion, Cole, on what is your stance on the portals and them using portals?
I don't know. Portal. I guess it just depends on how someone defines that and what they mean and what they're talking about. People talk about portals and like haunted houses and stuff. That's the main thing I've heard when people talk about portals. And I think when it comes to stuff like that, if you're talking about portals for when it comes to like demonic infestations in houses or whatever, someone opens a portal by, I don't know, doing like a Ouija board session or something. I think that's definitely a possibility. If by that you just simply mean a doorway spiritually was opened, I think that's definitely could be a thing. But when it comes to, I don't know, Sasquatch and portals and all that, I don't know what they are. I don't, that goes in the whole discussion of, are they flesh and blood or are they something else? And, my whole thing has always been that I truly believe that, I'm kind of going off a little off topic here, but I truly believe that when it comes to cryptids and the cryptid world and all that's out there, I think that you have your natural, real flesh and blood, whatever you want to call them, cryptids. You got your lake monsters, you got the other stuff out there, and I put Sasquatch in that category as well. I truly believe that they're real flesh and blood, that they exist. I think that they have certain abilities that we don't fully understand. I think they're extremely intelligent, and I think they're able to do things that we don't understand. But just because we don't understand how they do it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going through portals or interdimensional or whatever. I respect everyone's opinion on that. I understand that there's people who do believe that, and I respect everybody's opinion. But I do think that on the other side of the spectrum, though, you do have cryptids that are supernatural. You have the whole Mothman stuff. You have the weird like flying humanoid things or whatever that people talk about. The stuff with mind speak, like the real paranormal supernatural stuff. Could you be looking at portals at that point with that type of phenomena? I think that's possible. But yeah, I just think that there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't fully understand, and it's not just one thing.
If anything, I think when they're doing these magical maneuvers, disappearing, going through portals, turning invisible, 1 foot on the ground, whatever. I'm thinking technology. They're using some sort of alien technology. That's more believable than a portal. That's just me. But I haven't seen any of it. Until I do, that's all I'm going to say about that.
A lot of this stuff we throw around the word paranormal. For the record, most things that are paranormal, in my opinion, are just technology that we don't understand, we don't know yet. It is possible that there is higher levels of technology out there that we don't possess. People talk about aliens, stuff like that. I personally believe that the aliens are demons, or they're just they're demons. They're the forces of darkness, and they're pretending to be something that they're not. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I respect other people's opinion. That's just what I believe. I think they have a vested interest in getting us to believe anything in the world other than Christ died for our sins. I think that's their main goal, and deception is their modus operandi. But this concept of, like, say, what Coleman said, bringing on using a Ouija board to open a portal. I don't really think you're necessarily opening a portal. What you're doing with the Ouija board is you're giving them permission to come into your body, to infiltrate your soul. These cryptids, demons, stuff like that, I think they know that they are set apart by God. We were made in His image. We're special in the spiritual realm. We're apart from all the rest of them. And I guess what I'm trying to say is they cannot possess us without our permission. Okay, one way, shape, or form, they can't really touch us. I think that's why you hear so many reports of people running into Bigfoot, dressed. The people say, "Jesus help me," or "God help me," and they turn and they flee. And I think this is something that's hardwired into humans, and I think it's because they know it's true. I don't think that these things can touch us, or else there will be. Well, I think if maybe they know that if there's going to be a spiritual reckoning for them, it's going to be work for them. And I think that's part of the reason why when they run into us, they usually depart pretty quickly. I'm saying they're not flesh and blood. I'm not saying that they're Nephilim or something. But what I am saying is I think that, like the Sasquatch people, the Dog Man, we don't know enough about the rest of them. But I think that they know that we are made in the image, that we are special, and I think they know that we carry the authority with us when we're saved. And I think that they fear that. They respect it and don't want to cross the Lord on that. That's just my opinion. I'm getting way out there into the Holy Land here, but I think it all ties in. Say, oh, everything ties in. I think it does. I think it just doesn't tie in the ways that a lot of people think. A lot of these people, they're so desperate to take these stories and these encounters and take them from something that we can explain with the Bible. They want to take it from that because they don't like the Bible, and they want to turn it into a sci-fi movie. They're just somewhere in the back of their mind, they're desperate to do that. And I mean, heck, who doesn't like a good Star Trek movie, right? I mean, we could, beam down to the planet, Scotty. I mean, that's a hell of a lot sexier than having to go get out our Bible and read Genesis. So I don't know. I get up on these tirades.
Right. And what summed it up for me on the portals too was, I think Jesus made it pretty clear whenever he said, spirit is spirit, flesh is flesh. Flesh cannot open doors that he opens, and we cannot close doors that he closes. I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah. Well, and there's got to be some kind of method for God to send angels from heaven down to here. There's a barrier between us and heaven. Okay, we're not capable of understanding what it is. But back before the fall, the angels could go back and forth free, I believe. And after the fall, he set up a barrier there, and I think he set a bunch of rules in place. The Bible doesn't say that, but that's what it seems like happened. I'm not a biblical scholar or anything, but it just seems like there's room in place, and I guess God can do anything he wants. If he wills, an angel to be sent down here to talk to someone, he makes it happen. We interpret that as a doorway or a portal. I get, but I can tell you this. I think if there are such a thing as portals, it really doesn't matter because God's in control of them. He's the one that decides when they open and when they don't. I don't think it's a Sasquatch that's deciding when to open and close. And trust me, if the demons could control the portals and come on down, and take a physical, they would. We would already know that. So I don't think they're in control of it either. I think the Lord is in control of these portals or whatever you call it. He says it and it happens. I'd say that, a portal is a terrible word to describe it, but I don't think that if there is such a thing as a portal, I don't think there's anything in control of it other than God. And if something comes through a portal, it's because it was the will of God and it was told to go by God and do it.
Eric, you look like you want to say something.
I'm just waiting for you to say next topic. Next topic.
What always blew my mind is, I go off of what I've seen, and then I hear people, say, well, I was abducted. I was in a spaceship, and there was a Sasquatch driving a spaceship, and then I go back to the thing actually, and I know they're eating out of trash cans, and they're eating people's scraps, and they're hot woods, and I'm like, if you have all this technology, why don't this cloak go into a place and get you a steak? It doesn't make sense to me. It's not logical.
Yeah. Well, maybe they've got rich Sasquatch in Portland. I don't know.
So what do y'all think about? Do you think that they?
Do we what?
I've got a little tag. I was. What do you think that they imprint on certain people? Do you think that if they see a certain person for the rest of their life, that this will always be attached more to a certain person than another?
I don't know.
Oh, you want me? Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible. Again, that just gets into like my personal viewpoints. So, I mean, I would have to look at a case by case thing and look at the specifics. But like I said, I do think that when it comes to cryptids, I do think that there's sometimes a spiritual aspect to some of, in a general sense, some of the cryptid activity. If you got stuff following you home, if you got stuff causing activity in your house, because I've heard that before, especially with some of the dogman stuff where people claim they have a dogman encounter and they got stuff like poltergeist type activity, stuff moving in their home, that type of activity, and they follow them and torment them, and it just becomes like almost like what I was saying earlier, just like your stereotypical demonic infestation thing. So when it comes to stuff like that, if that's what someone means when they say that they were marked and they were followed, I think you're looking at potentially a demonic scenario. And I think that there's a thing called spiritual delusion at times. I personally think that, again, I believe that physical, real flesh and blood cryptids like Sasquatch and other things too, I fully believe that. But at the same time, I do think that just as demons masquerade as ETs, right? Like Brian said earlier, I'm in full agreement with him on that. I think the alien phenomena is 100% demonic, especially when you get into the abduction phenomena. And there's a ton of reasons for that we could talk about. I've interviewed guys like Joe Jordan, who's a famous researcher on that topic. But like I said, I think that when it comes to when you start getting into that territory, I think you're looking at spiritual phenomena where these demons can pretty much portray themselves as whatever, for whatever reason. I think that that's what they do in the same way that they'll take on the form of a deceased relative, for example. Obviously, your deceased relative is a very real person. Like everyone has a human soul, and when we die, our soul exists. But just as demons can masquerade and pretend to be a deceased relative or whatever to scare you, to gain your trust, to deceive you, just as they can betray extraterrestrials, right? Which is, like I said, something I personally believe. I think they can do the same thing with cryptids for whatever reason. That doesn't mean that explains all of the cryptid phenomena. And I think that's where people go off the deep end or get wrong, is that becomes the means by which they interpret all cryptid activity. It's all demonic, it's all evil. And I think that's wrong. And I think that's at that point, you're not approaching that subject with enough nuance, because there's a lot of different things going on. Like I said, it's not just one thing. So like I said, I think when you get into that territory, that specifically, I think that's a very possible option. Is, again, you're getting to the spiritual, potentially demonic side of things. That's just my personal opinion.
Amen.
Do you think that some people say that approximately 25% of people that have a cryptid encounter will have a paranormal encounter? Some people have thrown out the theory that if they carry the Nephilim, which would be the same fallen or the demons, what if there's a connection that causes the demons to be attracted to these? Whenever you have the flesh and blood encounter, you still have the hitchhiker effect, to where they're following that creature and then you end up with both. What do you think about that?
What I personally think is, I think there could be a lot of things going on with that. I think number one, someone who has a cryptid encounter, I think they're going to be more aware, because I think that's a pretty, worldview altering, huge life changing experience when you realize, if someone sees a Sasquatch or a dog man or whatever, at that point, I think it's possible that they're going to have more of an awareness that, hey, reality, there's so much more to reality, right? And so I think they are going to be more sensitive, maybe more open to, what else is going on around them, and maybe they're more capable of I don't know, understanding a paranormal encounter, right? That maybe before their cryptid encounter, they wouldn't really pay much attention to, or they just brush it off, or, you know, whatever. That's just, I have no idea if that's the case, but just off the top of my head, I could see that playing a role. But again, right, if it goes into the whole spiritual Nephilim thing that you were talking about, you know, if someone has that type of encounter with that specific phenomena of a Nephilim or spiritual demon, whatever, right? You know, I think that could play a role as well. I think there's a lot of things too. It may just be coincidence as well. You know, there's a lot of things that happen in someone's life that don't necessarily correlate. It may just be that they, you know, have a cryptid encounter and they also have a paranormal encounter. Like I said, I think there's lots of different things going on.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I think that's well said.
I agree with Coleman.
So y'all,
you're going to be, once you see something that shatters your little paradigm, you're on point. You're on alert. You know, your ears are up and you're looking around, and I think you become more sensitive, you know, and I know I'm always looking, always, you know, and, you know, it's just, it kind of makes sense. I don't know that the two are tied together any more than anything else. But I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. But then again, I've never had a paranormal encounter. I've never seen a ghost. You know, I've never felt something touch the back of my neck just because the lights were off. I'm not saying it's true. I just, you know, that's not something. That's my big problem with the whole ghost genre is you can't prove it. You know, and I'm an evidence guy. I want you to show me the evidence. That's just me, and that's the angle that I come from. I just, you know, you think I was from Missouri, right?
I'm pretty much the same way. I mean, you're going to have to show me. You know, I mean, I'll listen to people, and I don't discredit people just on their word. You know, I'm going to believe it up to a point, but there's a able to prove. You know, that it's me. Even ghosts personally, I believe it's demons, familiar spirits. I don't believe in ghosts, but authority we let them have. I believe.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all we can do is just go off of what our personal truths are. You know, everybody's kind of got their own personal truths. I'm not here to, you know, to get my pitchfork and my torch and start, you know, I'm not here for the witch hunt, you know. I'm pretty sure that's the other channels or whatever. I don't know. I don't have time for that. You know, I'm a field investigator. You know, I'm not here to, you know, tell people that I'm the expert and that everybody should only listen to me. You know, that's not my style. I want to be in the woods. And at the end of the day, I'll let other people sit around and argue about this stuff. This is probably the first time I've ever gone on the air and talked about, you know, my personal spiritual belief and what I believe and where they come from. I mean, I've talked a couple of times here and there about it, but not to this depth, you know, and it's just, you know, I've got more important things to do than argue with people and hurt people's feelings and upset people. It's not my intention. I mean, I have no proof that portals, for instance, portals are not real. I have no proof that. All I'm saying is I've never seen any evidence of a portal. So therefore, I don't necessarily believe in what I can't see. And I know people will be like, well, you can't see Jesus, but you believe in him. Well, that's different because he talks to you. You know? And if you were a Christian, you would know that. But other than that, no, I'm just an evidence
I agree.
guy. Keep it close to the evidence, and you know, if you want to argue with somebody, go argue with somebody else. I'll be in the woods. Thank you.
And I'm kind of like you, I'm open to all beliefs, and if they can prove me wrong, I'm willing to be proven wrong. A good teacher is a good student. I'm always willing to learn, and if I'm wrong and they can prove to me that it does exist, I'm happy, to explore that, to investigate that. But until I can see it, I can touch it and know that it's there, I can only believe so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
And you all did find something physical, though, didn't you? Down in my the woods. It's all not just hearsay. We find something, didn't you?
Coleman did, or was it Coleman or Eric? Those two guys did. I was goofing off. Tell them about it.
Which one? What did we find? Oh, the prints.
Yeah, he's talking about the prints. Yeah. So yeah, me and Eric were in that area, and we were just looking around. That's usually what me, Brian, Eric do is we'll go usually in the daytime. We'll go to an area to investigate, and we'll just walk the area. We like to look for prints. So there's a creek or something or some type of substrate where it's feasible we can find prints. We're always looking, and we've had good success doing that. And we made casts. Me and Eric found a couple possible prints. Found this one, for example. None of these are like grade A amazing prints or anything, but they are pretty interesting. Good finds we found in that area. So yeah, we did find some stuff, and yeah, it was a good time. I consider it a success for sure.
We got ran out of there prematurely because.
And Brian, did you see like a root ball or something?
Oh yeah, that was Eric saw that at a distance. We got out of the vehicles, and the old bird dog went on point over there, and he was like, "Look at that!" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "That." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." It's like that giant root ball in the tree, and I was like,
"Oh, right, that one." Yeah. Oh my God, there's no way we couldn't figure out how, unless a tornado. That's the only explanation. The root ball was, wait, 18 feet up in the, I mean, it's up there. It's not like it fell.
Yeah, that was 18 feet in the air. If you want to see some video of that, it's in our latest, I did a TikTok with it there. So you have to go check our, I'm still working on the video. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. There was a tree with the roots were up in another tree. And it was every bit of 17, 18 feet in the air. And it's right there by the lake. And there's absolutely no way that the lake was up that high. I mean, it would have flooded, a third of the state if the water was up that high. There's just no way. Something put that up there. And we looked at it briefly, and it was like, there's a lot of evidence that will remain inconclusive, But that was a pretty amazing find. I thought that was pretty neat. Hell, I was sitting there looking, and I didn't even see what he was talking about. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, that was pretty awesome. But yeah, we got ran out of there kind of early because it was so windy. We were looking at the weather. The weather was saying that it wasn't really going to back off, and you can't really. I don't know. I haven't had a whole lot of luck with Sasquatch or dogmen or whatever when it's 25, 30 miles an hour wind. Even if they do come in, how are you even going to know? Unless they walk up and sit down at your campfire. Heck, you can't even have a fire. So yeah, we decided we were going to go ahead and go on home, cut it short.
Yeah. And I will say too, just to add in there, I think that's, that kind of plays into why I think, most of our trips are like at least decent. We don't always like have amazing, spectacular stuff happen or find just amazing evidence all the time. But, you know, we usually find something because I think everyone in the group, Brian, Eric, you know, does a great job of, you know, being active, looking around. You know, when we go to a location, you know, obviously at night, you know, we'll just kind of hang out, talk, you know, have good conversations, but also, you know, keeping an eye out, keeping an ear out, because it's happened before. That's another story we can maybe talk about. You know, Ouachita National Forest, for example, you know, we were out there and they came to camp. But so we do that, but we also go out there, like I said, during the day and we look around, you know.
They came to camp because I yelled, remember?
That's another story for another day. But,
it was a good time.
Yeah.
That's the whisper joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric let out quite a vocalization that night that I think really drew their curiosity. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like a little inside joke there. But like I said, you know, we look around, you know, we go on the day, you know, we look and we look and we look and we look and we don't ignore things. I think a lot of times people ignore stuff, you know, they don't pay any attention to certain things and keep an open mind that, like, you know, they see something that very well could be, you know, cryptid or whatever, but they're just like, oh, whatever. And they don't pay attention to that. And I think we do the opposite. We don't just look at everything and say, oh, it's Bigfoot. We definitely don't do that. But at the same time, we understand that they're real. We're looking for them and we go to an area where they're at, you know, it's not unfeasible to find sign, you know. And like I said, we're always looking. We spend hours looking for prints, and I think that plays a role as to why we have such good success on our trips and on our research investigations.
There's a lot of, you know, videos and stuff of people that are out there, Bigfoot, and I hate to be rude, but they do so many things wrong. The first thing that they do, well, they never shut up. They're just constantly talking. You know, they get in there around the campfire. The first mistake they make is they invite two. You know, you got a dozen people around the campfire and everybody's John. You're never going to hear anything. You know, you could have a Sasquatch that's, you know, 300 yards off to the north, let out the Ohio howl, and they're not going to hear it because they're all over their belly laughing. You know, another thing that they make, another mistake that they make commonly is, you know, a lot of them are drinking, and they're drinking, and when they do go to sleep, they sleep way too hard. You know, you need to be alert. You need to be on top of it. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not here to preach to you about your drinking, but I'm just saying that there's a time to drink and there's a time not to drink. You know, you need to be on your toes. And, you know, and even then, when they go out and they walk around the woods, they're not looking at the ground. You know, they're hiking like some kind of speed hiker, like the little chicks down on the hiking, you know, down there at Lake Overholser or something, walking with their headphones in. They're trying to set the lane speed record. It's no wonder they don't find it. Slow down, shut up, listen. Get off the path. You know, you're not going to find Bigfoot tracks on a rock hiking path. Get off the path, slow down, look around. But there's just a lot of things that they don't do right. Most of them sleep totally through the night. I can tell you, I don't know about these guys, but I'm half awake, 3/4, almost all night. You know, I don't sleep worth a damn when I go on these things. And I try to sleep during the daytime, but I usually fail pretty miserably. You know, but it's when I get home from one of these things, I crash. I mean, I'm out. I am tired. I come home. My wife knows not to hassle me too much. She knows that I ain't doing no honeydews when I get home. I take a shower and a crap, and I go to sleep because I'm whipped, you know. And it's because these things are hard. You know, that's the thing that people don't realize.
Especially if you have Mexican. Especially if you have Mexican food on your way home.
Oh my God! Man, we got to plug that little Mexican restaurant in Nowata. what was it called? El Tapico or something?
Something.
Like
It was amazing.
I don't know, man. I wish that
Yeah.
place was Enid. Golly. That place is pretty awesome.
It's good. I've never been disappointed.
Yeah. There's another joke there in there. But I don't know. And we don't do everything right. That's for sure. And there's things that we could probably do better, but we learned along the way, about choosing our locations wisely. That's an art form when it comes to this thing. Choosing time frame wisely. There's you ain't gonna find any in July, and you're just gonna be miserable. You kind of gotta you got to click about it. I'm still learning. We're constantly learning new tricks, and we're learning where to look, and we're trying new things. Well, Eric can come up with this new idea to put a TV screen in his window, and he plays SpongeBob SquarePants, because you hear
All night long.
all night long. Thank God he keeps the volume turned down, but hell, I'd lose my mind out there. But you hear these stories about these creatures looking in the windows of people's living room, watching TV. If it's something they're interested in, why not use it as bait to draw them in? And SpongeBob SquarePants is very colorful. It's got all them bright colors and everything. And hell,
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I think it's a pretty successful tactic. And Eric's got the rig, the inverters and the battery power and everything that he can make it happen. You just got to. You're always.
I'm actually excited. I'm excited for y'all to stay at the area me and you talked about the other day where I gave you the pin drop. I would be really excited to see your all's results after staying the night there.
We're looking forward to going out there. I'm not sure how soon that's going to happen. We were planning on going not this weekend, but next weekend. But then we kind of had a case come up, and it looks like we're going to be going down to southeastern Oklahoma this weekend on a hot call. We had a lady reach out to us, and she's had cryptid activity. They're crawling on the roof of her house and scaring her, and so we decided that we probably needed to postpone going over into your region for at least a couple of weeks so we can go down there and do an on-site investigation with that lady. We're all pumped up and excited. She's sending us pictures and stuff, and she even has said that she's had a couple of Class A sightings. So super excited about that. Still, we're super excited about your area too. I mean, we know they're there. We're human. We got limitations. We don't. I have a day job. I have a regular day job. Everybody works. Everybody's busy. Money is always a concern. I'm a teacher, so I'm not exactly independently wealthy. Everything's got to fit into the budget. Pretty sure my wife would kick my ass if we ended up getting electricity turned off because we spent too much money. So, yeah. So, but anyway.
Well, we've had everybody just a little bit over an hour. And what I always do with people is whenever we go to wrap it up is I always let you all have the floor to let you say whatever you want to say. Talk about your channel. Tell them how to find you guys. Reach out there. Y'all are welcome to use my Facebook page, put your stuff out on. I believe in what y'all are doing. I follow along with what y'all are doing. I mean, a lot of what y'all are doing and believing is right. I think pretty much with what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to let y'all go ahead and have the floor and just tell everybody what you're doing, where to find you. And man, I appreciate having y'all on tonight.
Coleman, why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, I want to say thank you, Mike, so much for having us on and doing this, man. I really appreciate you. I love what you're doing on the channel. And I've had a great time coming on here and talking with y'all. And I really appreciate you. Like I said earlier, my channel is MHS Network. You can just look it up in the YouTube search bar; it'll pop up. We do cryptid stuff. We do lots of different things. Pretty much anything revolving around the mysterious, the unexplained, whatever. We make videos on. We have our documentary, Expedition Alone: A Quest for the Oklahoma Sasquatch, that is about me and my other buddies for the first time getting into this whole Bigfoot research thing, and we had no idea what we're doing, but it just kind of chronicles that journey. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. Feel free to subscribe, and I will let you guys know too. As soon as I'm done here, I'm actually going to go do a live stream on the channel. We're going to do a film review. We don't usually do movie reviews, but it's about the movie Nefarious that we saw. It was actually really good. I highly recommend it. So if you're interested in that, feel free to hop on the live stream. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Me, I'll go next. I don't have a platform, but I will tell you, if you're not watching Abnormal Investigations, the MHS Network, Red Dirt Cryptids, and you're out bushwhacking, looking for the squatching, safety, safety, safety. Remember, ticks are out, snakes are out, bugs. Make sure you got your repellent, sunscreen, snake boots, hat. Stay safe out there, stay hydrated, and have a good time.
Yeah. Well, Mike, he probably does have a platform. He just don't want to tell you because it's on the dark web. No, seriously, Mike, we do appreciate you having us on.
My fans only page.
Yeah, there you go. I
don't have one.
It's always fun. I love being able to sit down and talk cryptids, with you guys. Normally I like doing it around a campfire, but this is almost as good, But yeah, my channel is Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations. We specialize in southern Kansas and Oklahoma, and but we look all around. But yeah, I've got a YouTube platform. You can find us there, same name. If you want to communicate with me and tell me your story or make a report, you can reach out to me through our Facebook page and hit me up on Messenger. I've also got a website where you can actually go, and I've got an interactive cryptid report map that you can access. You can click on different waypoints and it'll tell you what kind of cryptid was there, when it happened, and it'll give you a real brief description of what happened. That's on my Facebook. There's a link to my website on our Facebook page, and there's also a link to every single one of my case files in the featured section of Red Dirt Cryptids Facebook page. You can go in there and open that up. Most of the time, if you're using an Apple product, it doesn't give you a hard time. I've heard that if you've got an Android, they'll give you a little bit of a hard time, but usually people get in after they tinker with it for a minute. But what that does is you'll get in there and it'll open up all of my case files. I've got every single one of my case files in there available for the general public to watch and to go through them and categorize them. You can print them out if you want to. I don't care. I put them out there because I kind of have this open policy. I'm not hiding all my case files and keeping them in the basement to myself. I put them out there where everybody can see them, to where you guys can learn from them, and you can open them up and check them out. There's I think as of right now, I've probably got about 260 case files in Oklahoma and southern Kansas that you can go through. I'm way behind on my case files. I think I've got 30 or 40 that need to be inputted, and we're acquiring more by the week, and I want more. So reach out to me so I can add your sighting to that, and I can fill out a report, because that's how we get smarter, and that's how we grow together, is by amassing data and learning from each other and just sharing what we know. Too many people have been too quiet for too long about it. So there you go.
All right. Well, I appreciate having you all on here, and maybe we can do it again. It's always a pleasure talking with you guys, and it was a pleasure meeting you all down at the fire too. It was good to meet you all and actually see you and kind of share the evening with you. And I enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we can do it again. But most of all, like what Eric was saying, be safe. There is snakes out there and everything. The night I came down and seen you all, I had my snake boots on. There is other things out there that will hurt you and can kill you. So it's not just the cryptids in the woods. And always be safe, especially with the wind and stuff. I lost a friend to a limb that fell out of a tree. So there is other things out there that can take your life. So I appreciate y'all being on tonight. And I guess I'm going to tell everybody keep your head on a swivel and definitely don't be something's dinner. And till next time, guys, we'll see you and be safe and look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good evening.
All right, guys. I want to thank all of y'all for being here on our live tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really enjoyed them with them. They're a really good team. They share a lot of the same ideas I do. They came down into my neck of the woods and they done some investigating, got a really good print. They found, like they said, the roots way up in the tree where something was storing them way up in the tree. So they also found activity down here where I'm at, which makes me want to get out even more and see what I can find, down in the woods. So I'm hoping to get down there and find something. Like they said, we all go out a lot, but we don't always find something. And those are the channels that I like to watch because I know that they're being truthful. But I appreciate each and every one of you for watching tonight. All the people that's joined the membership, thank you so much for supporting us. And until next time, keep your head on a swivel and don't be something's dinner.